Tinfoil hat.
Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
Good morning, Swarm, and welcome to Tinfoil Hat. You know I am. You know I'm here to. I'm here to.
Rock.
Join me as always, Xavier Guerrero on the ones and twos. Jay Nice, Johnny Woodard. Mind-blowing episode today, everybody. Mind-blowing episode. Dropping Hammer of the Gods.
Sam was stunned into silence by the
stunned into buying a shopping spree
Yeah.
of things that are needed to get rid of the toxins in our life. So Christian Yardanov came on and really knocked it out of the
Killed
park to the point I sat silent and listened. So you guys think I talk too much? Boy, you're going to enjoy this second half of that.
You better be ready with your credit card as well, because you got to buy some of this stuff if you don't already have it.
Yeah, filters and books and water filters. Getting a proper water filter for the house. Very excited, dude. Very excited. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode as much as we enjoyed doing it. Listen, man, a lot of gigs are coming up. I'm very excited about it. I'm going to be in Yuma, Arizona this weekend at the Crest Ultra Lounge. Bang, bang, pow. March 24th. Then the 21st, 25th, I'm supposed to do a big titty OnlyFans birthday party, but Daddy has to come back because he is shooting along. Dana is producing. My company is producing Tony Rock's special. How exciting is that?
Super exciting.
Like, he's
wow,
the best.
that's great, man.
Tony Rock
You
is,
love him too. You love him.
Dude, I think him and Orny Adams are the two funniest guys in LA.
Yeah, you always say they're super underrated. And I see them, and I
They both
agree.
are.
I completely agree.
They
I just
both
saw him
are.
this last weekend at your show. Murder.
We should get him on Broken Sim. Orny Adams was great on Broken Sim. He's probably our best guest.
Tony
we've ever had.
Rock is the funniest comic I know. There's nobody that crushes harder than that guy. So it's an honor to shoot him. Where what he does with it is out of my hands. I just want to produce my friends. So that is, if you're not doing anything, this Saturday night, live at the world famous Laugh Factory Long Beach, which is my favorite Laugh Factory, just so you know. It is my favorite Laugh Factory. Tony Rock will be doing 2 shows. Come and witness greatness. Say you were at it. I have a feeling this is going to be a game-changing special, and we're very excited to make it happen. So that is that. Again, and then I'm going to be in Toronto. A lot of people are already going, I hope you don't get arrested, which is a weird thing. But, hey, you never know. And then San Diego, I'm going to be in San Diego at the American Comedy Company. I believe it's the first or second weekend. I believe it's second weekend of June or May. Let me look it up. I'll look it up. It should be up soon. So that's it. Again, go to samtripoli.com. Get the dates. You get banners that will take you to anything you need of Sam Tripoli or Tinfoil Hat. Tinfoil Hat premium content. We're going to be starting to do a lot of stuff. I'm getting into my new place, and Daddy's going to be cranking up the quality of the content. Trust me on that one. So Tinfoil, what are you smiling, Johnny?
There was it's amazing
That was
how
a
much.
smile, a
that was a
smirky.
smile of like, it was complete approval of your idea.
Okay,
there was
thank
nothing
you.
about that.
Thank
You could
you.
read into stuff
Johnny
so
just gave
badly.
you a brand new mic, which
Yeah,
I do
I'm
agree.
gonna
You got to
That's
put it to
honestly
work.
what I was thinking. I was like, he's finally going to be using that
I'm telling you,
microphone.
I'm
Is what I was
using
thinking.
it. I am. It will be a position. It will be great. So Tinfoil Hat,
sensitive.
Tinfoil Hat premium content. Zeros for free, bro. Go get it. Save yourself. And then Conspiracy Social Club with Brian Callen is available on there. Cash Daddies, the investment show. Man, they've been fire lately. Go check it out. Patreon.com/Cash Daddies for all your investing. Daddy thinks we're entering a very interesting time. And then it's going to get glorious. Gary, the number guy, hit me up. He says the rest of the year is going to be a little nuts, but then it's going to get beautiful. And that fits up with what Ian Ferguson's been talking about. We're coming to the end of the Kaluga, and we're going to enter this amazing time. T-shirts. What a great way to support the show. Go to tinfoil@t-shirts.com, or you can grab shirts. We have some new shirts up there. If you go down a little bit, we have 2 new shirts. Either Conspiracy Theorists Aren't Wrong, Your Algorithm's Just Lying to You, and then the other one is Your Algorithm's Lying to You, if you want to keep it simple. Great ways to pick. And then we got, you know what shirt sold? I was really impressed with it. The up there, the brainwashing shirt over. Oh, yeah, and the Grateful Dead elongated skulls.
I love that loyal to the foil shirt.
Yeah, so go check it out. There we go. Bang, bang, pow. Now, there's a guy that made that design. I owe you money for it, and I can't find you. And I'll know if it's you. A bunch of people hit me up for the
I
money.
designed that shirt, actually. Wow.
No, you did.
What a coincidence.
Yeah, I thought so. Go, guys, real quick. So, yeah, that's it. Anything else?
Nope, we rocking.
Go check out nuke.social. Get you on all the telegrams for the Tinfoil Hat Telegram and the Zero Telegram. Get spiritual with us. Please enjoy this podcast with the wonderful author, Christian Yardanov.
Check out the new Broken Sin. Bye.
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink.
All right, let's get into it. He is an author. He has a book. It's called Autism Wellbeing Plan, How to Get Your Child Healthy. Please welcome Christian Yardanov. How are you, Christian?
Great, Sam. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's an honor to have you on, brother. I'm very thankful. It's a very important topic. We're going to get into autism and all that stuff, and it's a very touchy subject in so many ways because one side is very, 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 very hunkered into, or is that bunkered down into their position. But before we go, Christian, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where our listeners can find you?
Yeah, thank you, bro. I am a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, would be, I suppose, the main classification of kind of the health stuff I do. I'm the author of as you said, the book Autism Wellbeing Plan, How to Get Your Child Healthy. My website is just my full name, christianyardanov.com. And basically all the stuff is there. I have 2 podcasts, Connecting Minds, which is on various topics from geopolitics and health and the Illuminati and all that good stuff.
Yeah,
and
there we go.
And I have the Autism and Children's Health podcast specifically for parents with autistic children. And, you know, in a month or so, I will have a 3rd podcast just for children's health in general. So if people are listening in the future, check that out. I think that will be a very good resource if you're a parent or a parent to be. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Awesome, man. And thank you so much for doing all that. I really do appreciate that. And Austin, you're a good guy. Before the show, Austin asked us if we could do one of our legendary Blue Chew reads. And we might just throw Blue Chew a free read just because we love Christian very much. Christian, I appreciate you coming on. Again, autism is a very, very lightning rod topic. A lot of people are very, very, very protected in their positions that they have, and it's just really weird to me because there's a part of I think the health industry that would rather be right than do right, and they're very much like just dug into their position than being open-minded. So I think this topic is very important. So I want to real quick ask you, where does your journey begin into studying autism?
Yeah, so in 2018, I was getting super deep into the health stuff, and my let's just say someone close to me told me that their nephew is suspected of being on the spectrum, and I'm that kind of guy. I guess a lot of men are that Mr. Fix-It type of guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, I gotta help, man. I've always wanted to help people. You know how that is, how guys are like that. So I started digging into autism, dude, and I very, very quickly found out that these children are suffering from a lot of metabolic slash biochemical slash physiological imbalances deeper down in their body, right? So from nutrient deficiencies, gut dysfunction, gut dysbiosis, like infections and yeast overgrowths, heavy metal chemical toxicity, and I mentioned nutrient deficiencies, but also nutrient imbalances. So, for example, very low zinc, very high copper. That those two minerals, zinc and copper, need to be in a fairly tight ratio for optimal health. And the imbalance of zinc and copper is implicated in all sorts of things from depression, schizophrenia, serial killers have that imbalance. So there's a lot of what I found was there's a lot of commonality between many conditions, and what from my further research, I have come to understand that it's basically our genetic predispositions will shape what direction conditions or diseases may develop in, but it is, from the research I've done, it is very much environmental factors that are actually triggering these conditions and or diseases and causing them to develop, whether that's early in life, later in life. So I joined some Facebook groups, and I was hoping to share some of the information, and I was met with a lot of disdain from parents, right? And we can discuss that later. But I try to help. I did a little ebook, put together a 70-page ebook, and I was, throwing it around, sharing it, and again, disdain. And I said to my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, I said, look, nobody's going to take any of my stuff seriously until I write a book. And I spent basically 8-9 months just researching, and I hunkered down. Literally, I was doing lockdowns before they were cool, boys, because like I published the book on the 10th of March 2020, and that's when the big COVID lockdowns happened. So I was literally in an 8-month lockdown or whatever it was, 8 or 9 months, and then I had to be in another lockdown after that. So very much bad time to publish the book. But yeah, that's how I got into it. And I had to take a detour the last couple of years. I had to get a tech job because the COVID stuff, just kind of ruined me financially.
Right.
So I had to dig myself out of that hole. But now I got laid off of that tech job about 6 weeks ago. And I see that as an opportunity more than anything, because I've been pumping out content on my autism podcast like a fiend. I'm working with more clients again. I'm trying to help people. And I've got a ton of really good resources for parents, not just with autistic children, but just parents that want to improve their children's health. So I'm super excited, that I'm here and I'm able to, reach a wider audience through the awesome Tinfoil Hat podcast and you boys.
Well, I really do appreciate you coming on, and it means a lot to me. I haven't told anybody this, but I've decided that might as well make it now. My daughter's on the spectrum, and the reason I haven't talked about it is because I feel I've felt immense guilt about it. And there's, and over time I realized that, there are things outside of my control. And I've been very blessed to have a very strong support group around me and the mother. And so I'm very thankful for this conversation, and I will get into more about it as we go on. My daughter is very functional, and we're very thankful for her. And, she's like 3, and basically we're teaching her to be a hacker, and she's going to fucking bring down an international banking system by the time she's 18.
Gotta hurry though.
We're working on it.
That shit's collapsing already.
Let's hope it's there by the time she turns 18. Her work will be done. But I tell you that I just want to put that out there to everybody because, and I'm very blessed. I have family members who have gone through this. And so I just, I've had a conversation with my cousin, and because her son is autistic, and we have a whole discussion of all the things that is going on with her son, and she brought up something to me that you had talked about briefly while you were talking earlier, and that is that she felt that like we all have a cup basically in us, where we have a cup, and everybody's cup is of different depths. It's, some people have a bigger cup, some people have a smaller cup. And that cup is basically what our body and our systems can handle in toxicity. And some people can handle a lot, and some people can handle little. And I just feel that there's a lot of stuff going on with children right now that we're filling those cups up very, very early. And we have talked about, because I was in the room when it happened, and I turned down the Hep B shot. I do not believe in any way anybody listening to this needs to have their newborn child hit with a freaking party drug vaccine. And we'll get into more vaccine talk because I'm doing more reading on it, and I'm going to read your book as well. But what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, straight to the vaccine talk. Fuck, bro.
We don't have to get into that, but what I really want to get into is
no. Look, let's just get it out of the way, because it is an important topic, right? When I wrote the book, I was working. My editor was from the UK, so you know how British people are very much reserved and polite, and he helped to help me tone down some of the language, and but my entire intention from the beginning was I want to be gentle with people. It's already a delicate time, right?
Yes.
You don't want to start like ramming your ideologies down their throat. And if you notice in the book, I mention vaccines maybe 2 or 3 times. In the section on aluminum, that there is aluminum in vaccines. There's a quote from one peer-reviewed paper in there where the researchers are questioning why, when we know the effects of aluminum, why do we continue to add aluminum and inject our kids, add aluminum in vaccines and keep injecting our kids directly into the bloodstream, where many vectors of defense are not present. A simple example, you eat something with aluminum, it's the 3rd most common element on Earth. There's aluminum everywhere. So you eat it, but then you have your microbiota, you have your immune system, you have so many vectors that can potentially protect you and neutralize and excrete that aluminum. But with a vaccine, it's directly into the bloodstream, and there's other vaccine ingredients that you can look up on the CDC's website if you don't believe me. But there's things like polysorbate 80. There's things that are known to be able to open up the blood-brain barrier, which is a protective tissue in various regions of the brain. And once that's open, the aluminum is basically, just gets into the brain where it causes damage. So even researchers are questioning this. So anyway, with the book, I am more about solutions rather than talking about causes. Now, the first half of the book, I do talk about the health challenges that autistic children suffer from, but that's just to give people a primer on why, basically just when I make recommendations, if I don't give you the background, the reasoning and the rationale behind those recommendations, you're going to be like, that's way too much work. It's too expensive. All these tests and supplements and blah, blah, blah. Why am I going to go through all this effort? Gluten-free, casein-free diet. You must be crazy. But when I explain it line by line, study by study, I have hundreds of studies cited in the book. People that want to have the eyes to see and the ears to hear will understand. And so not to be around I'm not dancing. I'm not dancing around the vaccine thing, by the way. I wanted to lay that out. But with parents and on my podcast, I don't talk much about vaccines. I had he's a director in Children's Health Defense, Dr. Brian Hooker, who has an vaccine-injured autistic child that's like 21 or 23 now. And so I have had him on the podcast. But yes, I personally believe they're completely unnecessary things. I believe, and you can You can go on the CDC website. You can see the vaccine ingredients. Research these vaccine ingredients. I'm just anyone that's incredulous. Go and research these vaccine ingredients. Get the book by Dr. Thomas Cowan called "Vaccines, Autoimmunity, and the Changing Nature of Childhood Illness." Couple hundred pages. Read that in a couple of days. Look at all the vaccine ingredients listed in one of the appendices of the book, and you will. If your jaw doesn't drop, it means you can't read, because if you see what they're putting in these vaccines, the chemicals and the various compounds, seriously, if your jaw doesn't drop, if you're not in shock and awe, then it means you have not understood what you've read. That's what I'll say.
Yeah. So what's the name of the book you said?
So the book by Dr. Thomas Cowan, MD, is called "Vaccines, Autoimmunity, and the Changing Nature of Childhood Illness." And in the book, basically, he's been a practicing physician for maybe, I don't know, 40 years. He must be 60 now, maybe more. Anyway, so he's seen over the past decades the changing nature of childhood illness. So even though these vaccines may have some efficacy in preventing, rubella, measles, etc. So by protecting the children from these, what are mostly benign childhood illnesses, what is happening is their immune systems get altered. They're not trained in the way nature seems to have intended. And that means later on in life, they're basically, their immune system can't handle a number of onslaughts. That's why we see the autoimmunity, asthma, eczema, all these sort of immune dysregulation type issues have skyrocketed, basically in tandem with the vaccine schedule increasing since, the mid 80s, when the vaccine manufacturers basically got immunity from
because of Reagan.
That's yeah.
I mean, it's like, and obviously, man, everybody's reaction is different. Everybody's reactions to these things are different. And, we've had people on this show before who have talked about, the research they've done. They've been demonized and they've been ran out of their profession.
Yeah.
And even when I bring it up to certain people, I get told, "Oh, he's been demonized. He's just trying to make money," which is hilarious because pharmaceutical companies, that's what they're all about, is making money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's what it's all about. And once Reagan immunes the pharmaceutical companies from any kind of legal punishment for the effects of their vaccines, you just saw the number of vaccines skyrocket. Yeah. Why not just keep pounding them on and keep adding them, keep adding them, and keep adding them?
Yeah.
And it's just, I've been ever since I started this podcast, my view of health has completely and utterly changed.
I can see though, I've been following your podcast maybe since 2019, and I can really see your understanding of not just health, but just geopolitics issues really has become more evolved and more nuanced, and I sincerely hoped that I can share information today that adds value, because I know a lot of this, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners are very much awake to these things. So, I feel like the vaccine stuff, enough people are covering it, and I'm happy. And I'm not dancing around.
And I don't want you to talk on anything that you didn't really want to come and cover, because we have had people talk about that. Yeah. And I do think there's a lot more than just this. That there's other things that also, I don't want to get into that. I just wanted to bring it up with you because of the conversation I had with my cousin. And she put it very well. And I really thought okay, you got a cup. Everyone's cup is different. and how full can how much can that cup take of toxins before it starts to affect your
And
body?
do you mean by all types of toxins, like in general?
Yeah, I mean, it's
Like, even all the internet, all the social media, is that just like
no,
you're
well,
just
not
filling
that,
these kids
not
up?
that,
Yeah?
but in terms of like what you're digesting, what you're breathing, what you're drinking, yeah, that stuff I'm talking about inside your body.
Is that like in a weird way, like why females get their periods so much sooner than they used to before?
That could be it.
That could be it. That could. I mean, why am I talking? You could.
Yeah.
talk
You know,
to
there is a thought too that the period is that is it accounts for why women live longer than men because they're flushing their system monthly.
Yeah, and it also has to do with work and
No, but there's
stress and all
real
that
research
stuff
into
as
that, though.
well. And
You know what my
There's a lot of
theory is on
research on
that,
that.
guys? I started to develop this theory a few days ago. My wife's father passed away a couple of weeks ago.
I'm sorry to hear
And
that.
yeah, thank you. So it was actually the first time I spent 6 days alone with my daughter, and honestly, I feel like I'm such a stronger father now. Like I feel like I'm, you know what I mean? It's because fathers are like we get so many breaks that you almost don't know your capabilities. But anyway, this is only like I'm kind of half serious, but my theory is why men die before women is it's the probably the most painful thing for a person is to have their mother die. So if your dad dies before you get like a little bit of a taste for it and you get a bit hardened to it, you know? And then when your mother dies, you're like, oh God, you know,
You're an orphan.
You know what I mean?
You're an orphan at
it's-
that point, and I don't care what age you are alone at that. I mean, you could have your family, but you no longer have that older generation to.
You've changed as a being. Like you're in a new stage. You're in a new state, and I think there's a lot of spiritual sort of meditations sort of we can do about it. But bro, actually, I'm gonna dig up some good research on why there's actually research being done why men potentially die before women. It's got to do with the antioxidant systems, but I was digging into it like maybe 4 years ago. So I don't want to speak to it, but I will dig it up and I'll send it to you all if I can find it.
Hey guys, real quick, I want to tell you about one of our longest running sponsors, good friend of the show, James McMahon, and Copy My Crypto. CopyMyCrypto.com. Let me tell you about it. Listen, so many people are making ridiculous money from crypto, but did you know it's easy for you to do the same? The Copy My Crypto membership site shows you the coins that YouTuber James McMahon personally holds and allows you to copy him. It's like having a big brother who knows what he's doing. You don't need to know a thing about crypto or how to invest. You simply need to do what he does, okay? So let me tell you about James. He runs Crypto with James YouTube channel, which despite heavy censorship has over 26,000 subscribers. Good for him. Since March 2020, he's told his viewers to buy 26 crypto coins. Had you put $100 in each, it'd be worth 123,000. Okay. Of the 26 coins, his top pick of the year, a coin called Phantom, went up 692 times from what he said. That one cause retired a number of people, including guys in their 20s and 30s. Remember, this is public knowledge. You can go to his YouTube and verify this yourself. So if you'd like to join the 2,800 members who copy James, then stop what you're doing and head over to copymycrypto.com/TFH. That's copymycrypto.com/TFH. That's TFH. You'll not only find proof of everything I've said, but my listeners will get full access for just $1. Once again, that's copymycrypto.com/TFH. The recession is here, guys. You can suffer like everyone else or choose to thrive. James is the real deal. Go visit the site now. Christian, I like you. You're a good dude. You radiate. You have good energy. So let's get into what you want to talk about. And I want to get into so we've had discussions on this, viruses, all that stuff. I feel like we've talked about a lot, but I also don't think that we talk about it enough. But so we get into like the Rockefellers hijacking the immune system, the healthcare industry, pushing everybody into away from terrain theory into germ theory. The notion that we're constantly surrounded by germs and all that stuff. And, we've had people on talk about like how people are trained. So you have these doctors. I just watched Dr. Peter McCullough, and he was asked by friend of show and guest Derek Bros about the thought that, and I don't want to hijack your episode, so just hear me out real quick. But the thought of no viruses, right? That there's no viruses out there, and when someone says no virus, to me that means like Cox postulates. Can you prove that this causes this? That's what to me means isolated a virus. When they isolate the virus, that's what they meant.
Yeah.
Can you show that this causes that? Okay. And Peter McCullough, who's made his bones in virology and all that stuff, I believe that's what he is, but he's one of the leads of it, dismissed that theory and brought up, like, we know it exists. We have the proteins. And I thought that was a very disingenuous thing to say. And it's not that I think that Dr. Peter McCullough is a bad guy or that he's being deceitful. I think he's speaking to what he knows. And the reason I have a problem with what he says is because if you go to germ theory is that disease comes from toxins being excreted from the cells. And if that is true, that means that it is organic, which means it has proteins in it. That's my opinion. What are your thoughts, Christian?
So this is actually, there's a number of interesting threads you could develop here. So I personally am also skeptical that viruses even exist, or if they exist, they're not what we're being told. And then we had what's the guy's name? Andy Kaufman, Dr. Andy Kaufman. He was talking about exosomes. So maybe viruses are exosomes, which are excreta from cells. So Dr. Tom Cowan, that vaccines autoimmunity book that I was talking about, he had another book that he published called The Truth About Contagion, where he talks about, again, the stuff you talked about. So terrain theory, Pasteur was a fraud. His nephew donated Louis Pasteur's nephew donated his Louis Pasteur's notebooks to a museum, and they basically fabricated a bunch of his experiments and stuff, right? So the whole. And apparently Louis Pasteur on his deathbed said that Béchamp was right, terrain is everything, right? So if you look at, and I'm just gonna I'm gonna just spew a bunch of thoughts here, but if you look at the when COVID happened, what they, and Andy Kaufman talks about that, what they isolated the genetic code for quote unquote COVID was taken from lung fluid from the first victims or the first patients. So you take lung fluid, and that can have any number of organisms and genetic code from the human, from parasites, from all sorts of things, right? Bacteria. So they isolated from that. There was no filtration. There was no isolation. So couple that with the fact that any picture you've seen of a virus has been a freaking graphic, designed with Adobe Photoshop or whatever. There is a lot of there's a lot of reason to be skeptical. But what you said about guys like Dr. McCullough and stuff is we it's like in that movie, was it with Jim Carrey, where he's like the only, like, the TV show about him, I forget the name of it.
The Truman Show.
The Truman Show, like the guy in the end said, we accept the reality with which we are presented, right? So if you, dude, let's not mince words here. Getting through medical school or a PhD is a form of trauma-based mind control. So if you go through all that, if you go through all of that, you're gonna be very I'm pretty impressed with all the doctors that came out, and they're turning to the functional medicine paradigm. Because if you're able to get through that and still unbrainwash yourself at, say, the age of 35, 40, 50, it's very difficult. You know it. The older one gets, the more ingrained, especially men, dude. I found that men are so much harder to convince because their ego is so solid. Women seem to, I don't know, they seem to be more flexible in their thought, right? Which is a beautiful thing. And yeah, dudes, like I've almost given up on trying to help friends with their health and stuff because they're just like, so, you know what? Anyway.
No, I agree with you. And there's a lot of, when you talk to people who train combat sports, they say it's much easier to train a woman than it is to train a man. That women have way less ego when it comes to that. And, for men always have to rely sometimes on only their belief in themselves to get through crazy stuff in their careers. So that's both good and bad. And if you're a guy who's made his bones off of this germ theory, it's going to be very hard for you to go, I was wrong, and everything I ever did was based on a false paradigm. It just, and again, I'm not, like, this is not me saying these people are bad. I don't think they're bad people. I've talked to many doctors that have light in their heart and they're good people. Yeah. And they're just teaching what they were taught. And and as you said, man, there's a lot of trauma that goes along with becoming a PhD. But it's also like, if you want to get that PhD, there's an understanding that you have to give them the answers they want to get the score to get the PhD. That is what public schools, and that is mostly what elementary and high school is about. Training you to understand that you find out what authority wants and give it to them. And when you do that, you will make the dean's list. You'll get this, you'll get that. That's what's all about. And sometimes that can lead to remarkable shit. But sometimes that leads to you're just painting yourself into a corner, and now you're just like, you're miserable in an awful place, and next thing you know, you got blue hair and you're on TikTok talking about cultural Marxism. I just like, so that's the whole thing. Like, none of these people are bad people. They're just been, again, put through this trauma of getting a PhD, and they're $300,000 in the hole, and they don't want to be there anymore. All of this is set up to play ball or die. Yeah. And there's a Dr. Klinghardt. He's a very famous sort of thought leader in kind of this next level natural medicine, not just natural, but just next level bioregulatory medicine and all that stuff, right? And even he's like, I listened to him on podcasts, interviews, and he was like, a lot of the time, the biggest impediment to like these, let's say it's kids with autism or anytime there's a seemingly intractable condition like Lyme disease or whatever, it's usually the man of the house that is the biggest, not hurdle, but impediment to improving whoever's health we're trying to improve, be that the child, the wife, or the man. Yeah. So they don't believe, and then he says, I give them studies, I give them science. They're like, it's like for you tell them what to do to improve their health. Like, no, why? Is there any proof? Where's the science? Where's the source? All that stuff. And you give them the source, and they won't read the source because they don't want to believe. So it's like you've no chance. And to be honest with you, I've given up on trying to convince anybody of anything anymore, be that health related or conspiracy related. At this point, I'm working hard on my children's health stuff. I'm working on my other podcast, and the people that are ready for the information, they find the information somehow. I'll give you one example. I was talking to a lady today in Africa, and it seems this is the problem. Like, again, it takes a lot for people to actually get in touch with me, to start working with me.
right, for their whatever health problem they have. So when it comes with these kids, I always seem to get like the really, really sort of tough cases come to me. So I was talking to this lady today, and their son. I was talking to both of them, the dad and the mom. Their son doesn't poop.
Whoa, what?
Oh,
They give
man.
it, dude. They give him an enema once a week, and so he can
What's his last
go.
name? Woodard?
Is he
So-
trying to? Is he not trying to go? Is he holding it in? Does he not like it?
Oh,
Does it hurt? Like,
a lot
what's his
of
logic?
there's a lot of complicated stuff. But when he used to go once a week, that was what they call the good times, you know.
Oh God.
So now it's so this is what I'm talking about, dude. And what is it's sad in many ways. I'm glad I can help people, but I'm also a little bit saddened that it takes so much suffering for people to either seek help or make changes to diet, lifestyle, and all that stuff. You know, stress reduction, toxic exposure reduction, and so on. So that's for me. And again, a lot of time it's the men's ego preventing that. You know, so it's one thing to have ignorance we can fix, but laziness and apathy and narrow-mindedness, that this is kind of what we're up against, you know.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude. It's just crazy. It makes me sad.
Yeah, it's sad, bro.
It just makes me sad. I don't know why, man. It's so interesting the way people think, and it just has to do with the brainwashing that goes on, and as we're younger, the rewarding of certain behaviors and the disciplining of other behaviors, and
Yeah.
it's just nuts, man. It's just nuts. So why don't we start off with something? Why don't we get into let's get into how to keep your children healthy in this toxic world. Let's go into that.
Right. So, by the way, regarding just to wrap up the autism topic, I do want to say, as a lot of things, there's a lot of sad, stuff going on. But in my book, the second half of the book, it's all about solutions. So, folks out there, if you have a family member or a friend affected by the condition, I've got 300 pages of the second half of the book. Basically, I talk about ad nauseum about lab testing, the best lab tests to run, how to clean up the diet, how to clean up the environment from toxic exposures. I talk about, there's 2 chapters on supplements, there's 30 supplements covered, how to improve your child's sleep. And there's just a ton of really good information. There is solutions. These children suffer from a lot of underlying health issues, but most of these issues can be addressed, at least to an extent. In many children, the earlier you start and the harder you go in terms of interventions and everything, a lot of these health challenges can be completely resolved. Like things like gut infections and nutrient deficiencies and so on. Oxidative stress can be improved greatly, antioxidant status. And that kind of leads me to your question, Sam, is how do we keep...
Before we go into this, do
Yeah.
you think that there is some autism that is reversible?
Yes. I guess you could, at a very basic level, let's say there's a lot of in autism spectrum disorder, there's a number of sort of conditions that they've put into that label, into that umbrella term, but you could differentiate between quote unquote classic or classical autism, that the child from birth seems like they're something different, right? And then you have the what's much more prevalent, I believe, nowadays. Not I believe, it's much more prevalent, is the regressive autism. So you have, just your standard development. All the milestones get reached pretty much, and then at some point, maybe it's 18 months, 2 years, or years, sometimes earlier, it seems like something happened, and at that point, it could be any number of environmental influences coupled with a genetic predisposition that it's like the straw that broke the camel's back, right? So it could be a vaccine, and don't let anyone tell you that it can't be. Okay, it could be a vaccine. I know many people who have told me their stories about how a vaccine, especially the MMR vaccine, triggered it, right? But it doesn't have to be a vaccine. That's what people have to understand. There is toxic exposures from, and most people listening know that from food, water, air, dude, like very quickly, so just if I can remember some of the research, because there's so much research that went into the book. So for example, there was a study in Sweden that correlated higher autism to homes that had PVC floors. One example, there is an association between I believe it was methyl bromide, which is a fungicide used in like strawberry production. And there was some type of developmental, I don't think it was autism, but there was an association between exposure to that.
So much, man.
There was
so much
here, this one, organochlorine pesticides. The closer that mothers lived to like farms and places where there was being organochlorine pesticide sprayed, the higher the association with autism was, and the higher the association with the amount of pesticide used. So there is dude, heavy metals. Not only have autistic children been found to have either increased body burden of heavy metals or a decreased ability to detoxify and excrete them, but heavy metals have been associated with autism severity. Let me caveat quickly. Everybody knows association doesn't necessarily equal causation, but I can give you so much research. In the first paragraph of my book, in the introduction, if you look at I have 22 or 23 studies that show correlation with autism severity, and these studies cover things like immune system dysregulation, gut dysfunction, candida, food allergies, heavy metal toxicity. There's even a couple of studies later on in the book I talk about where 2 studies, I believe, or the 3 where mold exposure was also associated with autism. So you have to understand, and I think most of us intuitively understand, toxins come in many flavors, many sinister varieties, and they're it's all toxic, right? So whether it's a bacterial toxin, whether it's candida spewing out, the candida in your gut make alcohol, they turn sugar into alcohol, and that can be turned into, they turn it into acetaldehyde as well, which is a breakdown of the alcohol molecule ethanol, and acetaldehyde gets detoxified in the liver, and that's one of the chemicals that gives you the hangover feeling. And a lot of these things go to the liver to get detoxified. And what happens? So you're talking about the cup. That's actually a pretty good analogy, because our kids have these tiny little shot glasses, right? And the blood-brain barrier is not even fully developed until 6 months into life. And what happens is you have exposures that now require endogenous or the body's antioxidants to get detoxified. So let's say heavy metals, chemicals, maybe bacterial toxins, whatever. You're using glutathione. You might know that as the master antioxidant of the body, of the cell. So you're using up your glutathione, and that's made of amino acids, which come from the protein that the child eats, right? And you depleting them, and the gut dysfunction could be causing the microbiota to change, and that changes their appetite. So they want shitty foods, they want like sugar, they want, because the candida can also make you crave sugar. And these pathogens, they, through their metabolism, they excrete inflammatory compounds. Now your immune system is activated, so now you have chronic low-grade inflammation. So think about this, it's like a vicious cycle. Unless you interrupt it, it builds and builds and builds. And it's like my analogy in the book is that's the hardware, right? And sooner or later, if you add these insults, this vicious cycle, the mind and the body are inextricably connected. If the hardware breaks down, the software starts to break down. That's where you have learning difficulties, cognition issues, aggression to self, aggression to others. You've got sleep issues. Gut dysfunction, I got studies, is associated with sleep issues, with aggression, self-injurious behavior, anxiety, and so on and so forth. And I could unravel this for a very long time, but I've got really good resources on my podcast, and I've got a bunch of videos on Rumble. I have 63 videos I just uploaded a couple of weeks ago. It's basically a video lecture series of what I talk about, all the health challenges, or the most relevant health challenges that I believe that autistic children suffer from. And that's basically the first 5 chapters of my book that I've just created into like a PowerPoint presentation. So each issue, you're given a primer for between 2 to 5-10 minutes. So if you don't want to read a whole book, I think it's 2 or 3 hours of lectures you can get on my podcast. It's all the links. It's all there on my podcast and my website.
Are there? I know you don't want to talk. The final vaccine talk is: are there now vaccines that don't have metals in them?
So what they say, I think it was in the early 2000s. That's when there was a big outcry from, again, it's always like parents and stuff like that, It's never these regulatory agencies that they will never do anything good for us. It's clear. Right. It's just clear. It's if we want change in the world, we gotta get out there and make the change happen. But so they took out thimerosal, which is an organic form of mercury, as many people probably know, which actually not so fun fact, this organic form of mercury, thimerosal, I believe it can cross the blood-brain barrier pretty easily. Or maybe it was the placenta. I can't quite remember. Don't quote me on that. But it's pretty nasty. And they also put that in. It's basically like a preservative now. They still put that in the flu shots, right? And I from what I know, it's also used in fish farming. I think it's in the fish feed because it's got like really, it's a poison, So it's a really good mercury is a really good sort of preservative because it doesn't allow microorganisms, be it in a vaccine or in a fungicide or whatever. It doesn't allow the proliferation of life because it's fucking poison, right? But yes, there is aluminum in vaccines, and still, yeah, and it's, dude, again, what I said earlier, if you eat food that has aluminum, first of all, maybe it won't all get absorbed, right? Maybe some of the bacteria in the gut, they can transform it. Certain parasites actually eat heavy metals, quote unquote, and there's a theory that people that have a lot of parasites might have a lot of heavy metal toxicity because their organism let the parasites in so they can absorb a ton of the metals. That's why you don't just want to, if you have parasites, you don't just want to whack them and kill them. You want to be strategic about it, go slow, take activated charcoal, zeolite binders. There's you have to be smart. And a lot of allopathic medicine, they'll just give you an anti-parasite, freaking few pills, and jog on, mate. Good luck with that, But so the metals through the diet and the water they go through like so many. Again, I said the word vector. This vectors of protection. But when you inject directly to the bloodstream, let's say it's 20 milligrams of aluminum. Man, there's so many things that happen. So first of all, yes, the point of the alleged point of the aluminum is it's an adjuvant that is supposed to stimulate or irritate the immune system into creating antibodies towards the viral particle or whatever it is, and usually they're dead or inactivated or whatever, and allegedly that's why you need to have the adjuvant, otherwise the immune system won't do anything. But aluminum, if it gets into the central nervous system, which can become easy, especially if a child has before 6 months of age, the blood-brain barrier is not even fully developed, and the children's detoxification capacities are not fully developed because they're smaller. And then if you think about 20 milligrams for you or for me is one thing, but a child that's like what is it, like 1/20th of your weight in kilograms or pounds, that is 20 times proportionally more of a burden on their tiny little body. So there's so many problems. And listen, I'm not, again, like I will discuss this issue. I believe more parents need to know. And this is honestly, dude, like I can't tell you how many people here I know, and my wife knows, that they're all like, we're all about the holistic living, and we eco, and we don't eat organic food. We make our own kombucha, and I breathe, and I meditate, and I ground myself on the beach. And yes, my child is fully vaccinated. What? I'm not a monster. Like, what the fuck are you, like, dude? And again, like, you just listen to doctors. If you just look, this is the thing, education, man. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm rambling. Please.
No. I love it, and you really got to ask yourself if it's such a good thing, how come they have to give these doctors so much money for each vaccination?
And sorry to interrupt you, but if we're at the pinnacle of medicine, why is everybody sick? Why are all the diseases skyrocketing? Why is every 2/3 of people obese?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? If you trust this system, look around, look outside.
That's what I tell people. Point ever. You have allowed them to. That's my whole thing about progressive politics, right? Not to change the subject too much, but you've been allowed to implement your ideas, and we have seen the results of them. And they are catastrophic.
Yeah.
They don't work. You had a great chance. We gave you got all the DAs, all the politicians, and you implemented this whole thing, and it's crashed and burned, and you've destroyed world-class cities implementing your I feel guilty about how good I've had it. I feel guilty about the world I've been born into. So I'm going to give other people this idea, and we're going to take away all these preconceived notions of power dynamics, racial dynamics, economic dynamics, and we're going to give everybody the same this, and it just hasn't worked because you don't want to believe that there are some bad people out there, and it doesn't go across racial lines. It goes across most likely trauma.
Trauma. You took the word out of my mouth. It's trauma.
The trauma hurt people. Hurt people. And just if you can try to kumbaya till the cows come home, you can be like the Blind Melon video with the people dancing in a circle dressed in bee costumes, trying to tell everybody it's going to be okay. It's not, dude. There are some hurt people out there who only know violence and getting theirs. And so back to this, man. Where should we start on this? How we can keep our kids healthy in these toxic world. I mean, you basically, there seems to be toxic in everything. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I just moved into a new place. It's a little bit closer to the highway than I would prefer,
Yeah.
but I had to move there. It's only temporary. But I'm going to be putting 1 million air filters in there,
Yeah.
water filters in there, all sorts of stuff. Your thoughts on that?
Well, people don't know why. What's the danger of that? It's the
brake
brake
dust, right?
Yeah, brake dust that gets into you, and
Brake
people don't
dust
know
and
that. Some people,
just carbon monoxide.
yeah.
That is constantly coming out.
And
It's
you
just
gotta
a
you gotta
lot.
get an air filter, and like people don't know, like a lot of like the hoods are right next to freeways. If you've noticed, you're driving by, and what is that? Just
Yeah.
hoods. They don't care. They don't know. It doesn't even run through their mind.
Some people see a beautiful house and they don't even care that's like a couple, right on a highway. I mean, I'm a lot closer than I would like to be.
So I've heard some of my friends that love it. Oh, dude, it's right. I get right out of the freeway into my house. I'm like, that's not that, dude. We're driving a little bit.
Yeah,
It's fine.
I would rather be deeper
Yeah.
in, but it is what it is at this point. Hey guys, real quick, I want to tell you about the Mr. Ballin podcast, available on Amazon Prime. That's Prime with Mr. Ballin. Let me tell you about it. A teen solo hiker who's terrorized by unknown figures dressed in white. 2 cops who quit their job at a local theater because of unexplained encounters with an alleged demon. An isolated forest in Canada where people keep turning up headless. These are just some of the strange, dark, mysterious stories you'll hear each week on Mr. Ballin podcast. In each episode, Mr. Ballin shares real-life haunting accounts, like the case of Haley Ziegu, who disappeared from a hiking trail for 51 hours. When search and rescue finally found her and asked her how she survived, she simply said her friend helped. She described him as her friend as a 4-year-old black hair with brown eyes. Damn. The friend was initially dismissed until they realized a girl had gone missing in that exact spot 23 years earlier, was never found. She was 4 years old, had black hair and brown eyes. Damn, dude. Damn. Going deep on all this stuff.
You know me, I'm a podcast lover. That's why I'm in this industry, and this is probably one of my favorite podcasts to listen to. It's got its conspiracies, it's got its true crime. You can't go wrong with this one.
Haunting. You love ghosts, bro. You're a
I
big
love it.
ghost guy, right, Xavier?
I get ghosted a lot. I gotta love ghosts.
So listen, hey, Prime members, listen to Amazon Music exclusive Mr. Ballin podcast. Strange, dark, and mysterious stories in the Amazon Music app. Download the app today. Oh, where do we start?
Bro, I just wanted to I'm changed my Dropbox account and I lost this really good. I had a bunch of really good snippets related to environmental pollutants.
Dude, you can spitball it. You can even make it up at this point.
I'm gonna yeah, I'm gonna spitball it a bit. I have the book here in front of me, but so basically I'm sorry, just give me 1 second, bro.
All right, take your time.
This is
Johnny, write this
okay.
time down.
Okay, here I'm gonna throw some stuff at you. So organophosphates, right? These are types of pesticides, right? So this is from the textbook of natural medicine, which is a 2,000-page volume, two volume, 2,000-page book on natural medicine. That's one of my favorite books. But listen to this: greenhouse workers who were exposed to organophosphates exhibited higher incidences of depression, headache, tremors, and paresthesias. Polish greenhouse workers exposed to organophosphates exhibited longer reaction time and reduced motor steadiness than unexposed workers. They also reported increased tension, depression, and fatigue more often than controls. Dutch farmers and gardeners who used organophosphates frequently had a much higher risk of developing mild cognitive dysfunction than others, right? So, chlorinated pesticides, if you start going through the list, right, you will want to go and, go live in a bubble somewhere, right? Now, I don't want to scare people, but if we don't start taking this stuff, toxic exposure, seriously right now, you literally will not only will you likely die sooner, but your quality of life will deteriorate much faster, right? So, in fact, my next podcast episode, I was going all the stuff I read out. I had like snippets of it. I was going to talk about it for about an hour and whatever. I will do that. So if people are interested, they can always like come to my podcast. I'll talk about this ad nauseum. But I believe smart people are already aware. They just need to be told what to do. And this is the most important part. Let's talk solutions, right? So I would recommend if let's say, Sam, that was me moving into where you are moving there, right?
Right.
Let's say a new place, right? So the first thing I would do is for a couple $100 off of Amazon, get a reverse osmosis system, like a nice 5-stage reverse osmosis system. Couple $100. The maintenance filters cost like, let's say, 30 to 40 to $50 a year. One of the best investments you make. Water your plants with it, cook your food with it, drink it, give it to your pets. So that's number one. And that's super important.
And this is a water. This says water.
Yeah, so that's your water. This reverse osmosis systems, right? They're only a couple $100. There is better stuff out there. You can, for a few $1,000, you can get a whole house filter. There's distiller solutions, but for most folks listening, $200-$300, it's an under the sink, under the counter type of system. Super easy to install. You install it in an hour. So that's your water. Now, the next thing I would do is all the showers, I would get a shower filter, and they're again under $100. You can get a shower filter for $50 or so. What you want to do is, this is something that like a lot of people understand about purified water, but most people that I talk to don't know that you absorb a ton of chlorine through your skin. And not just that, but the hot water, it hits the bathroom floor when you're showering, and chlorine is volatile and it evaporates readily, and you breathe that. So nice little shower, absorb a little bit of chlorine, and breathe in some chlorine for good measure. 50 to $100 for a filter solves that problem. What a good investment, right?
Yeah.
And I would put that. And by the way, I also have those under, like, let's say if it's the kitchen sink, and you use that water to draw a bath for your baby. Let's say your baby's still small and you're giving it baths. You want to make sure that the water that you use is chlorine free, right? So if you use your sink, make sure that water or that supply has a simple chlorine filter, inline filter installed, right? Very simple. But the water thing is super important because yourself, like, it's water is the basis for like biochemical reactions in the body. If you're adding a ton of like arsenic and poison and stuff like that into your body, you're depleting your antioxidant system. And again, we already spoke. Children, if you want to protect your kids, they will be able to suffer through much less than you were able to. So you're like, I'm fine, everything is fine, this water's great, and your kid there is freaking, having oxidative stress and any number of other mitochondrial dysfunction and stuff like that. So, and you won't detect that. You need specialized tests to detect that stuff early. You will only detect it very late in the game when they start to show cognitive dysfunction or visible symptoms. You understand? So the way disease or conditions or symptoms develop is for a very long, usually for quite a long time. Deeper down in the body, there is dysfunction that the body keeps trying to somehow maintain homeostasis. It can rob your bones for nutrients. It will rob your collagen, your skin, your joints for nutrients to do all sorts of things. So point is, you have to be proactive with these things. So the water is super important. You guys already mentioned the filters. This is another thing that most people are not aware. So for a couple $100, get a HEPA. I would get a HEPA water filter. A HEPA air filter, high efficiency particulate, whatever. So they filter particles up to 3 microns in size. So like dust and all sorts of things, pet dander, even mold spores. These things, we breathe them in. And there's from my research, I understand that indoor air can actually have more pollutants than outdoor air in many cases, right? Think about all this dead skin cells coming off of you. In nature, there's like a massive volume of space that they can disperse. And like a car, let's say you're outside, a car drives by you. Yeah, you're breathing some of that exhaust fume. That's one thing, but it dissipates. So we have that going for us outside. Now, if you live in a city, it's a whole other kettle of fish. But yeah, a HEPA filter. So if you have a kid, you gotta have the HEPA filter on, and kind of some of them have the ionizer, which also like it's kind of like it releases ozone. I'm not an expert on it, but it also neutralizes certain things. So HEPA filter, water filter, few $100, really good investment for the long term.
And where do you put the HEPA filter?
It's right. It's just an air filter. Just live in the middle of the center of the center of the room.
Try to have one in each room.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
They got bigger ones. They got really big ones, obviously, for like the whole living room. But yeah, like you can get one for $20.
Okay.
$20
Yeah, you
one
can
right
get
there.
really cheap ones. Yeah, for small spaces, $20, $30, $50.
Oh yeah, we're loading up on those, bro. HEPA
Yeah,
filters all day.
when we got our apartment here a couple of years ago, at the time, I was like, we just had the baby, like maybe 4 months, and I was like, I have to do stuff well. So I got it was a bit expensive. It was $500 or so or euros, but the filter is it's cylindrical. So it basically pulls in particles in 3D. Usually it's like a flat sort of panel. So the filter, the airflow pulls it into the flat panel, and then the air comes out the top or the sides or whatever. With this one, the air comes out of the top of the cylinder, but there's a big, maybe 15-inch kind of cylinder of activated carbon and whatever else, and so it's pulling from all directions. And I kind of invested that just for the living room, but if you get 2 or 3 units for like 60, 70, $80 for your your bedroom, your kid's room, your living room, and maybe like your office or whatever, I would recommend those. But those are very easy. Literally in 5 minutes, you go on Amazon, get like the reverse osmosis system with the most reviews for like a reasonable price. Same with the HEPA filter. That's the easy part, to be honest. But the next one is also extremely important. It's the food, dude. And maybe let me ask you guys, what do you think is like, what do you think we should do? How do you think? What's the best way to what's the best diet and the best food? How do we protect ourselves and our kids?
Yeah, that is a great question.
Based on what you said, I would start with organic. So no pesticides
exactly.
right away.
Go on. In general, everything that's like outside of the grocery store. Anything that can go bad. Anything that can go bad, you should be not eating, but obviously before it goes bad. But that's what you should be eating. Everything in the middle, shit that can last for days. You don't want to eat
stuff,
that. Yeah.
Stay away from processed foods.
Yeah, you got it. Like, here's the whole thing. Here's what I've learned about all this stuff, like sobriety, right? Let's get into sobriety. It seems difficult at first until you hit a stride. Jiu-jitsu.
What do you think that stride is? Like at one time you're like, okay, this is because my friend's at 6 months, and it looks like it's really easy for him now. He can say no. Yeah, he can say no pretty easily. But before he was like, hey, stop.
But it's also being like, it's just like rewiring yourself and habits of I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. Same thing with, like, let's say you go jiu-jitsu, right? You start doing that. It looks really hard from the outside, but once you start doing it a little more, you're like, whoa, I just did something. It takes train yourself. So when you go outside, like, oh, that's so hard to do that. It's so hard to find this stuff. It's so hard to find this type of food at first. But once you create the system, it becomes, you get into a stride. I know if I go here at this store, they'll have this, 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 and this. Now it just becomes like your everyday.
You're completely right. I have vegan friends that, to me, how do you eat that? Where do you find vegan spots? They do it well because they got a system. They're like, oh, on breakfast, I go to this. This place got good vegan shit.
Yes.
At lunch, I go here, and they found their system after like 6 months of figuring it out.
Yeah. So once you start to sit there and go, hey man, it's really hard to eat super healthy. No, it's really hard for you right now because you don't have any of the tools and you don't have any kind of playbook to do it. Once you establish a playbook on behaviors and actions you're going to take, then it becomes really easy.
You know what's hard? If you think eating well is hard and expensive, I'll tell you what's hard. I've got a neighbor here that we're living here more than 2 years now, 2 years and a bit. And this guy, when he sees me walking the dog and he's walking his dog, he always asks me, is she a lady, about the dog? Every single time for 2 years. Yeah. Okay. And that's hard. Like, imagine what it must be like for his wife. Like, he drives, but she's always in the car with him, right? He's not old, maybe he's like 70, but do you want to live a life like that? Do you want your spouse to be like that and you have to take care of them, you know? Or my grandmother, who my granddad, obviously my grandparents, they were nobody knew anything about nutrition back in the day. Like, they didn't even know what a vitamin is when they were growing up. And they were very healthy people because they were living off the land and they had animals and grew food. But then they moved into the city, you know, the communists during the communist regime, for like 3,000 of the local currency. Everybody got an apartment in the city, and you know, they did that, and suddenly they still had some land and grew some crops, but suddenly they had stores, so the rug was pulled under them. They never knew that organically grown food and those, you know, pastured animals and everything, that was the source of their health. So they would like buy sausages, and my grandma was using copious amounts of sunflower oil. And if you start going down even tiny rabbit holes in your health journey, you start to understand that these seed oils, the soy, safflower, sunflower, these oils, these are one of the most toxic things that we are eating nowadays, right?
Yeah.
But and so you know, you got your aluminum exposures from various sorts. You've got your high in omega-6 vegetable and seed oils. You got your pesticide-laden foods, glyphosate, organochlorine, organophosphates, all that stuff. And these things, so the pesticides are not just immunotoxic, hepatotoxic, so toxic to the liver, but they're neurotoxic. So a lot of these pesticides, their mechanism of action is through neurotoxicity. They kill the bugs or whatever. So come on, like, you surely they can't be good for you if they kill other life, you know, if they kill organisms through neurotoxic mechanisms. Yeah. So seeing this guy, I'm like, and I know because I go to the store here, and Bulgaria is the same. That's where I'm from, Bulgaria. I'm in Portugal now, but like, people buy these massive bottles of vegetable, you know, sunflower oil, and they fry everything in it. And
see, but you look it up. Like right now, I typed in our seed oil is bad for you, and it literally says it's not that all the most nutrition option. Here's no reason to freak out about seed oils.
And the
This
American,
came out. Yeah, this came out a couple months
It's
ago.
all
It's the
profit
first.
motivated,
It's
though.
the first thing that comes out when you type "Our seed oil is bad." Is this article, and it
Oh
says they're
my
not nothing to
God.
freak out about.
Grapeseed
Oh my
grapeseed
God.
oil only exists because winemakers had this byproduct of wine left over, these grape seeds.
Yeah.
And they were like, what can we do to get rid of this
Yes.
shit? And then they turned it into this false health craze, grapeseed
Yes.
oil.
Yep.
And it's completely
Yeah.
unhealthy.
I mean, that's exactly what they've done with all these. That's what they've done with vaccines. That's what they've done.
fluoride was also a waste product. Sodium fluoride.
What was? Sodium fluoride, wow.
Yeah. So that was was it Edward? I think it was Edward Bernays that he basically helped those guys to market. So okay, so if you have a waste product, their reasoning is, we have to pay and whatever else to dispose of it safely. But if we sell it as a input to another product, that's there you go.
Yeah.
Here you go. That's now we're thinking, business sense. So there's a lot of things that are foods nowadays that are derived from fucking waste. They're byproducts. They're waste byproducts. Like for example, just a simple one is whey protein. It's not that there's no nutrition in it. Like if you have like a cow and you take the cow's milk and it's unpasteurized, and you can do stuff with the whey. You can like make ferments and all sorts of cool stuff. But in the current guys, it's for that industry, it's a waste product that they sell it to supplement manufacturers that then brand it, as bulk master 6,000 or whatever. So a lot of stuff is, bro, like you said, bro, rapeseed oil. I forgot what other types of oils.
Avocado oil?
I forgot which one it was. It used to be called in the which.
There's avocado and there's extra olive oil. I remember those were at one point were a big craze.
I think avocado oil is meant to be quite healthy.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean,
So,
relatively speaking.
So avocado and olive oil, they're more predominant in monounsaturated fats, where these vegetable seed oils like sunflower, soy, they're PUFAs, they're polyunsaturated fatty acids, and the third type of fat, obviously, is saturated fat. So we got the demonization of saturated fat since kind of the 50s. The diet heart hypothesis, Ansel Keys. You had the American Heart Association. They were the ones that were pushing these PUFAs, vegetable seed oils, polyunsaturated fatty acids, as heart healthy. So this article that you showed there, it could be like either industry or it's like unbelievably just horrible propaganda.
Just deceptive. And it's, dude, this is what people can't understand. Okay? Is real simple doing this because they're evil? Well, it's possible, no. It's probably probable, no. But what they're doing there is doing what their bosses told them to do.
So is that evil, stupid, or dumb? Evil, stupid, or dumb? That's literally the one I've been hearing lately. Evil, stupid, or dumb. You got to be one of the three.
Evil, stupid, or dumb.
Yeah.
Now,
what's the difference between stupid and dumb?
well, okay, that's a great question. I go, are you dumb or are you stupid? Okay. I guess dumb is like you just don't know better. And then stupid is you're just an idiot. In the face of one is like I didn't know that, and the other one is
I think they mean the same thing.
well, not my way. Are you stupid or dumb?
You know what? Mark Passio. You've heard of that dude? He's really awesome, Mark Passio.
Yeah.
So I love the way he kind of frames it is. This person that wrote the article, they could be like someone on Upwork or Fiverr that have a service. I will write your articles for $40, and it's 2,000 words is $40, and you can hire people, freelancers, say write me an article about XYZ. It has to be 2,000 words. Use these keywords, and this is a lot of how the internet. If
damn!
you search,
It says it's fact checked by a doctor, and that the person who wrote it is an RDN. Is that some kind of registered nurse? I don't know what the D stands for.
So
That
the
is,
question
yeah.
becomes-
Look at all those. Look at all those qualifications, bro.
And it's
That
been
is
fact-checked by
impressive.
someone.
Who's been fact checked
MS,
by who? Isaac? Like anyone gives a
RDA.
shit.
That's the doctor who
Oh,
approved of this.
dietitian, nutritionist.
Christy
Okay.
Del Coro.
Yeah, and then
So dietitian, by the way, is code word part of the medical industrial complex.
and
They're
then-
like
Go
yeah,
to
the-
Isaac's. What's Isaac saying? Where I'm real simple. Isaac is a fact checker and a writer. Okay. That is
Highlights.
so crazy.
Helped establish a food pantry in West something Park.
So they're trying to act like he's the kind of part of some organization.
He was an AmeriCorps employee, of course.
Dude, that is so deceptive. Now we're getting
So-
into evil.
So
Because
talking
that's
about
presented as like Isaac is some dude.
Random.
No, some guy who has qualifications to go through this and go, that's wrong, that's wrong. When in reality, he's none of that. He's just a dude they hired. And Isaac is doing, he's Googling everything, and Google's telling him the same thing that's telling this shit. Oh my
so,
God.
so that's
the
what,
worst is the
that's
doctor,
what,
though. I mean,
That's what
somebody
Mark
knows
Passio. That's what Mark Passio says, right? So the more in terms of natural law, and kind of karma and all that stuff, the moral culpability falls on these people, on the order followers. Yeah. So the people out there putting the strings, they tell them do this, and it's the ones injecting the kids. It's the ones directly lying to the people. That's where the laws of karma, the laws of the universe, the laws of the natural laws.
Yes.
They unfortunately they're making a very tough choice, and it's usually just for a few bucks or maybe some fame or notoriety. So I actually have empathy in a way for these people, because they're choosing the path of darkness, and we ain't. We're the opposite, bro.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I see it in my own profession. People who chase fame, fortune, a lot of them don't seem like very happy people. And they're always constantly trying to hold on to it. And it just seems, it's the people who go their own path that are to me the best, and they seem to be the happiest because they follow their natural desires. And these people who, by all accounts, they're just propagandists because it's what they've been taught. And I would like to think that Christy, and I'm not going to say her last name, allegedly, right, is doing this because it is what she's been taught, and she wants to put it out there. That's what I believe.
Or do you think it's kind of like a historian? She was telling everybody to eat this shit, and now she can't back down and be like, "Yo, actually, it's not healthy for you." Do you think there's anything behind that where it's like you tell people to do
where
this?
she's just like doubling down?
Yeah, where she's doubling down, where she's like, "Fuck." Maybe she's not even.
I don't know what that has to do with historian, but like
how they won't admit how.
History's wrong.
How
okay,
they won't.
I got you.
They'll
Well
just
played.
sit down
Point.
on the whole point where like, no, this is what I said. So
yeah.
You think she's on this? No, I've been telling people to eat sunflower seed oil.
I mean, it could be her brand. We don't know why Real Simple is having her as a writer on this thing. There's
some of all of that happening though, and in different places.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
all of that's happening at once.
I mean, it happens even in conspiracy world where there's a bunch of people who, towards the end of Trump's run were predicting this and that, and it didn't fit on that timeline. There are interesting things happening right now, but it's all, again, your ego is not your amigo. And, Johnny here constantly pulls up stuff that makes me look like an idiot, and I have to take my medicine.
What, like your Instagram?
Jeez.
My Instagram is fire, bro. Okay? So, but back to this. It's like, I think there's a lot of things that you can do to get yourself healthier. And it gets back to, taking the easy path, which is fast food, prepackaged stuff, all that. That's easy. Simple is getting back to God and doing little simple things like cooking your own food and doing all that stuff that seems like a lot until you get into the habits and patterns, and then it becomes second nature. That's what you have to do. And for me, it's like I feel like ever since I got sober, I don't drink alcohol and I don't put drugs in my body. I do drink a lot of coffee, which I think there's some side effects of that, but Daddy will eventually get rid of that as well. But I mean, like, I think I see a big change in, like,
how's it going with the soda?
Soda's hard too.
That's a tough one, dude.
Soda. So far, the two, I'm just going to be honest with you. Here's pornography and soda are the last of the I think the low frequency, bad for your health.
I think you should let on tour slide. Like
What?
when you're on tour, when you're on the road. I think
Have a little soda?
Yeah, no, the pornography one. I think you should let that one slide.
But I just want to
fucking
get away
bored.
from it because it's just a long story.
can't be
But
good for you.
I just want to get away from it. It's just I want to read more. So I get bored. And I'm like, do I want to read or do I want to watch porn? And
no,
it's
but
just,
you
again,
have-
what is simple? What is simpler? What is easy? Porn. What is simple? Sitting down reading a good book.
You got to ask yourself what's not in the case of pornography necessarily, but what's your health worth? That's what I have to keep asking myself. What's my life worth? What's my health worth? And if it's a few decisions every day can make a real significant difference in my long-term health. You got to kind of, but that's something you have to keep reminding yourself of until it becomes a habit, like you were saying.
That's exactly why, I read these kind of articles, papers, and books because anytime I've stopped looking into the health stuff for a while, it's a gradual degeneration. I have a little bit of something. I'm more. I don't drink sodas and stuff, but I'm a big sucker for like nice chocolate, and I still get it organic. But my wife is like making fun of me. Geez, you're such a sweet tooth. I get these like caramel waffles, and then like rice cakes with chocolate and coconut sprinkles. And then, dude, at one point I was like, Jesus Christ, I'm just like mindlessly putting them away. And it all starts from listen, if you guys are ever interested, there is this thing called metabolic typing. So it's called the metabolictypingdiet.com. It's called the metabolic diet, and I believe on metabolictypingdiet.com, I think for $50 you do like a questionnaire, and they tell you for your metabolic type what the right ratios of carbs, fat, and protein is, and what foods to eat, right? And dude, I've done this, and the best, and I've tried everything from vegan, vegetarian, keto, carnivore, raw carnivore, paleo, and so on and so forth, right? Lectins free, gluten free, all that stuff. I've tried it. The best I ever felt is eating for my metabolic type, and my metabolic type is basically, obviously, I'm from Eastern Europe, so I come from a land where my ancestors, in the winter, the ground froze over, so there was no readily available fruits and vegetables for a long time until we had storage techniques and technologies. So if you're like more of a darker complexion from a more equatorial background, you live in a place where there's readily available fruits year round. So what those folks tend to do better on like a higher carb diet, less animal fats. I tend to do better on high protein, high fat with very little carbs, 20 to 30% depending on level of activity. So depending on it's got to do not just with genetics, but there's a number of other factors that there's a ton of research that went into it. But you don't need to understand the research. That's what I always tell people. I'm all about the actionable insights. And actually, if you get the metabolic typing book, there's a quiz in the book, not as complex as the website one that they have for $50 or whatever it was, but the book was like either $20 or $15 for the book. There's a quiz in there, like 60 questions. You do those questions, and then they'll tell you you're more of a carbo type, you're more of a protein type. And once, dude, you try this for a while, dude. The first time we tried it with my wife, you could go like 8 hours without even feeling hunger. I remember we did a flight from Portugal to Ireland we had to basically get up at 6 a.m. and we got to my sister's place in Ireland by 8 o'clock in the evening on one breakfast, dude, and it was steak with butter and maybe a couple of eggs.
And where is this test?
So if you search for metabolic typing, I'm not sure. It's probably metabolictyping.com. It's been a while it's been maybe 4 or 5 years since I did the test and I read the book. But listen, if there are certain things, and you know what's interesting? I'm also a DNA fit trainer. So we run this DNA genetic panel, but there's only like a few dozen genes that have at least 3 peer-reviewed studies back in their clinical validity or efficacy, right, or whatever. So I did the DNA fit panel myself when I was training to become a DNA fit instructor, and the diet that was recommended to me based on my DNA fit results, my genes, pretty much the ratios pretty much were the exact same as the metabolic typing diet. So I had 2 completely different sources it's very old. Like the dude that wrote it is a pioneer in this stuff, so don't be put off by the shitty website. That's the book there and down below, Metabolic Typing Diet. It's really, really good. It's a little bit technical, but you skim through and read it in more depth if and when you care, but just get the questionnaire inside, do the questionnaire. There it is, Kindle, $12. And do the questionnaire, and then it will tell you like you want to eat like, let's say 50% fat, 30% 50% protein, or 40% protein, 40% fat, and 30% carbs for your type. Then you just most of us are old, we're big boys, we're old enough, like let's say 100 grams or 3 ounces of steak will be like 20, or any meat will be like 20 to 30 grams of protein. Okay.
Damn.
So you stick 3 ounces of that. Then you take maybe 20 grams of, just quickly off the top of my head, 20 grams of butter and a pear or 2. Just get the ratio roughly right. Look up what a pear is. Is it 12 grams, whatever. If you eat that for breakfast, you will not crave sweets, you will not crave sodas, you will not crave any shit, because you will be in balance. You will have the right ratio, because just to give the slight rationale, so those guys differentiate between a fast oxidizer and a slow oxidizer. So if you give a slow oxidizer very heavy food, they don't metabolize it very quickly, so they get congested. So that's why some people will tell you, I don't really feel good with beef, I feel better with chicken and fish. And then some folks will tell you, I honestly feel better when I eat plant-based. And then guys like me, dude, if I eat plant-based, I'm gonna be the crankiest motherfucker and I'm gonna be eating every 2 hours and I'm gonna be pooping every 3 hours. So when I eat for my fast oxidizer type, and this stuff changes as you age, and like if you drink more coffee or if you're sick, so there's some obviously nuances and complexities there, but get the basic metabolic type done on yourself. Eat like that for like a month. You will feel better. Your weight will probably normalize or come closer to normal, and myriad other benefits. It's also about blood sugar regulation. You don't want these nasty spikes, and that's another. If you eat right for your metabolic type, you will reduce a lot of those spikes that cause feeling shitty, moodiness, cravings, etc., etc.
So you know how you said you're not good with carbs because of where you were, because there wasn't a lot of fruit where your ancestors grew up. Is that the same thing as like people that are like they got like that they're lactose?
Celiac?
Yeah, lactose or celiac because there wasn't any dairy where they grew up. Is that like the same concept?
So the celiac thing, what is more likely to be causing the incidence of celiac is, so first of all, the wheat that we eat nowadays is been heavily hybridized to contain a lot more gluten and protein because it's heavier. It's a cash crop, so the heavier you can hybridize it and grow it, the better. So we're eating more gluten, and the glyphosate that gets sprayed on the wheat and other crops to desiccate them after they harvest them, that it hurts our microbiota or microbiome. So there's a number of theories going around. For example, there's the gluten zonulin connection. So basically, zonulin is like a protein in between kind of the gut cells that kind of keeps them together. Gluten can cause that to basically it inflames the gut, it causes the release of this, and you get intestinal permeability or leaky gut. So celiac disease, it's more of an autoimmune disease, and it seems to be a number of different triggers. And obviously gluten definitely plays a big part, and I believe a lot of these things are toxic exposures. But definitely I think the lactose intolerance, it could be that because like I'm not really too deep on the genetic stuff, but like my wife, for example, is lactose intolerant, and like where she's from in kind of Northern Europe, they never really that area. They never really had cows and ruminants. You know what I mean? So it could play a part of it, right? But you have to figure. You have to also factor in the fact that. I lost my train of thought there.
That's
it could be any number of factors.
Well, you were talking about how like maybe they didn't have a lot of cows where your wife was, but there could be other factors as well.
They say that about Native Americans and alcohol.
Well, Asians get
and Asians,
yeah. It's that whole they never had it before. And
you know what's interesting though, bro? You know all the stuff about meat. In epidemiological studies done in the USA, they're correlating, red meat intake with heart disease and stuff like that. I was listening to a dude today or yesterday. Sorry, I've been waking up at like 4 or 5 in the morning because it's the only time I can get work done with my baby. So by this time, it's 9 o'clock here. I'm destroyed. So anyway, so they did. So the epidemiological sort of observational studies in the States seem to want to show an association between heart disease and red meat. But if you look at Asia, I think it was in East Asia, a higher meat intake for men and women led to a reduction in all-cause mortality. So the more meat you ate, the less chances of dying, right?
Well, yeah, so, I mean, dude. I was just talking this last night to who was it? Mark Steves, I think it was last night, that we were just talking about like, it's like there's this whole thing about veganism, which is fine, and being a vegetarian, I respect it, but animals eat animals.
Yeah.
Animals aren't like, there's some that eat plants, a lot of them eat each other. I mean, if
plants
it was really
eat animals as well.
What?
There's 600, I think there's 600 or so species of carnivorous plants as well.
Also, it should be a warning sign to you if your diet is predicated on making shit that looks like other food. Because all that vegan stuff is like vegan bacon, vegan coke, you know what I mean?
No, I'm with you. And again, I don't have any problems with it, but if Bill Gates is trying to get us off real meat, that should let you know everything you need to know about real meat.
That's not to say processed meat is good. We're not saying that at all,
No, I'm actually saying the opposite.
But like free range, grass fed, if that's what you're going
that
for.
Processed meat, fake meat, Beyond Meat, I don't have any faith in it.
No, he means like sausages, processed meat, like sausages and
okay, I got
like real
pastrami and stuff. I totally agree. And here's the thing, right? It's I don't have a problem. I've done the vegan thing. I actually, on a plant-based diet, I don't want to say, because they tell you were never vegan. If you stop being vegan, you were never vegan. So I was on a plant-based diet for about 1.5 years.
What? That's their thing? So you're only vegan if you're vegan at the moment?
Dude, there's so much vitriol because I used to follow the community because I was plant-based, So all the people there was a big exodus, I guess 4 or 5 years ago, and there was a ton of YouTubers. Some of them had like hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and they would do these kind of why I'm no longer vegan type sort of confessional videos, and dude, the vitriol and like I'm gonna like death threats, I hope you die, like, you know what I mean, like animal killer, like dude, my theory is, I'm kind of saying this tongue in cheek a little bit, is my theory is why they're so militant about converting other people is because they're just like so hangry all the time. And I was hangry.
Misery
dude.
loves
like,
misery.
When I was vegan, I was hangry. And when I went back on the meat,
Yeah.
my hormones improved. And what did I, fuck, man, I keep losing my train of
No,
thought.
my favorite.
What-
You're crushing, dude. You're crushed today. Listen, my favorite is, did you see the video where they brought on a woman who made her dog vegan?
Oh, the
and they're
best.
like, how do you know your dog? Because he loves it. I'm like, okay, so they put
Yes.
out a bowl
Yeah, yeah.
of meat and then a bowl of the vegan, and the dog went and ate the meat.
Oh, that's so funny. I
Bro,
In front of her, in
They-
front of her, it's so embarrassing to
I
her.
have
They
to
don't
see
even know what
that.
to do.
That dog is
They
in the
did.
shelter right now.
I think there's a, if anyone's interested in the research on this stuff, Dr. Paul Saladino, who by the way, ironically, his name is Saladino, but his fucking Instagram is the Carnivore MD, right? Fucking amazing guy, very smart. He went to the Hadza people in Africa, the hunter gatherers, and hunted baboon and ate fucking baboon with them. Like, super awesome guy. Is
this it right here?
hilarious.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That's,
This is so
goes-
funny.
Well, here's my whole thing: is like veganism. We have good
Oh,
friends
man.
who are vegetarians. We have very good friends who are vegetarians, and
Yeah.
so teach your own, live your life. I have people I love, and that's fine.
Sam, I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. Like, I do agree with you on that, but I honestly think
we should hate
we-
vegetarians, bro, and go to war.
no. It's
Right
it's
on,
the
bro.
It's the lacto ovos that are real dicks. No, but seriously, I'm a lacto ovo beef or pork or vegetarian. I think it's okay. Do whatever you want, but the people listen. And I mean this. I know. I might not get a very good reception from plant-based folks out there. I support what you do. I don't agree with it, but do not drag your child into your ideology, because if you look into the work of and your dog, please, God damn it, don't torture the dogs. If you look at the work of Weston Price, who was in the 30s, he did all his travels around the world. He did not find one quote-unquote primitive or indigenous tribe, which is more politically correct to say nowadays. He did not find one group of people that were completely vegetarian or vegetable based, and that was the intention of his whole trip around the world. He was actually looking for that, and honorable guy that he is, he's actually the one that discovered vitamin K. He used to call it, I think, Factor X. Very great man. And so he didn't look for evidence to support his ideology and theories. He was a real sort of scientist and researcher, and he found that. And so what we know from all of his amazing research is that all cultures value meat, and vegetables and fruits are more of a survival food, right? So it's my personal belief that regenerative agriculture, where the animals live well all their life, like the farm, one of the farms that we get our meat from, the little calf is never separated from the mother until that final day. But it's also like a lot of these animals that are organically raised, pastured, a lot of them, I would venture to say that they live better lives than many folks in Asia, in India, in Africa, even in South America. So it's regenerative agriculture. It's literally regenerates the earth, because if you look at what a lot of vegan folks or plant-based folks eat, is they eat things that are grown as monoculture, monocrops. That requires a shitload of diesel, machinery. You destroy all the biodiversity of the land. You use glyphosate, and because they're not all organic for sure, and so that destroys the land much more than when it's done like back in the day. You need to have, you look at, and anyone interested, look at Joel Salatin of Polyface Farms. Like, what an inspiration that man is. Check out his work. He'll tell you what's up. And are you saving the world where your avocado is grown 3,000 miles away from you, and like how much diesel is used? You know what I mean? And we eat meat. The fish is caught here by small fishermen. I support the local community. I support my local organic stores. Most of the food that we get is grown or produced, within a couple of 100 miles of my home. So that's the way to do it. It's not about excluding food groups, because and another thing that they do is they eat a lot of garbage, and they eat a lot of these inflammatory grains. And we just covered oils, these seed oils. Look at the propaganda out there. It's the same propaganda with the food pyramid since the 50s, with 6 to 8 portions of grains. And people wonder why inflammatory bowel disease, colitis, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, IBS, and all of these other diseases have increased in prevalence. And don't forget the old adage that all disease begins in the gut. And what are we being told for decades? Stuff yourself 6 to 8 times a day with these lectin and anti-nutrient filled grains that are not even produced and processed like back in the day, because back in the day they used to ferment grains. It's a process. A lot of the foods used to be fermented and then eaten. Like even cabbage, you don't eat cabbage raw. It's like the ancestral ways. Like you make your own ferments, you make beer, you take honey, you make mead for your alcoholic beverages. We've forgotten a lot of these things, especially in the States and Western Europe. A lot of these ancestral ways have been forgotten, and I'm hoping I can, once I get all the content out of my head related to children's health and pregnancy preparation and all that stuff, I hope that one day I can start, helping introduce these higher level concepts to folks that need to hear them, because, we gotta. Change isn't just about getting healthier. I mean, that's the first thing you have to do, because if you have no energy, if your kids are sick or whatever, or your spouse is sick or your partner, you can't get anything done. You can't self-actualize. So we got to get our shit together, get ourselves healthy. Men, especially, I'm talking to you, we have to, I have vices. We all have vices, but we got to get ourselves healthy. But if we want to, quote unquote, defeat the Illuminati, which is basically Anunnaki banged the Illuminati, created the Illuminati. That's my term for them. If we want to defeat them, it's not just like all this conspiracy research. We need to create the system, or remember what the system was before they took control. And that includes becoming connected to the land, learning how to grow our own food, learning what good food is, and supporting our local farm. There's a million things, man. But plant-based folks listening, I'm sorry to tell you, if you believe this, you've been duped. And if you look at The Big Fat Surprise, it's a book by Nina Teicholz, Dr. Paul Saladino's podcast. I can rattle off a ton of other things. I've forgotten half of them.
No, dude, you did great, man. You did great.
You gotta that's my message to folks. This is back to the kid thing. Your children need a lot of protein, a lot of animal protein, and a lot of animal fats. This is super, super critical. Super critical, bro.
Your kids need.
I'm sorry.
One more time, say it.
So here is the pillars of a healthy diet for a child, and in rough order of importance. Okay, so we covered water. The first and most important thing is organically grown, pastured animal foods: beef, chicken, lamb, organ meats, liver, chicken heart. Still cheap. These things organic are quite cheap still. Then fats animal fats. Obviously, the meat will have fat, chicken skin and stuff. Butter, super. So the reason I say butter is super important is because saturated fat is really the basis of hormones in the body, right? Estrogens, testosterone, so on, right? A lot of people that go plant-based or start crazy diets or whatever, their hormones tank, but you're not getting enough saturated fat and cholesterol and stuff like that. Cholesterol is super important. Don't fear cholesterol. What you should fear is inflammation that can cause issues when you have a lot of high cholesterol. So the meat, animal products, animal fats, and then some fruits, and then some vegetables, but not the other way around. So those are the four most important things. Grains and snacks, occasionally, these should be occasional foods, like honey, if sweet things, if your kid wants sweet things, we all want sweet things, take you could take a rice cake maybe and put a little bit of butter and honey. That's a nice little snack. And like a lot of kids are addicted to this shit food. It's because in many of these microbiota, they create these microorganisms in the gut. They create neurochemicals that affect appetite, sleep, mood, everything. So as you improve a child's diet or a person's diet, you've probably noticed if you improve your diet, you crave the shitty things less. And then over time, as that you stabilize that, you crave the healthy stuff, right? And one final thing about, you have to be very, very careful, because this is a big problem for autistic kids and many other people, is you have to know what oxalates are. So oxalates are found in a lot of grains and some fruits and vegetables. And this is basically, it's an organic acid that can bind with minerals in the body and form crystals, and they can get lodged in tissues, in kidney, like kidney stones often are 60 or so % calcium oxalate. Spinach is very high in oxalate. Potatoes, wheat. So a lot of these foods that we're eating from the food pyramid, from the powers that be that tell us, they're actually very high in oxalate. It's a lot of people don't know about that, and almost all autistic children that have run the organic acids test, which I talk about in the book, it's one of the best tests to run for anyone that has health issues.
Organic what?
All of them. Organic acids test. I'll send you. I already sent you a copy of my book. I'll send you a copy later. It's chapter 6. You see it.
All right, I'm in.
Is that why Is that why that whole eat spinach and kale thing wasn't really working for too long? Because I remember kale shakes and spinach shakes was like all in, and now I've been hearing about how it was whatever you mentioned. What was it again? That's in it.
Oxalates.
And what does that do again to your body?
So so many things, man. It like just the most basic thing that folks can, I guess, conceptualize in their head is it binds minerals, so like iron, calcium, magnesium, which means that they become unavailable to your body, and it creates like this almost like a diamond, like rag. If you look at, I don't know, maybe you can look at Google images of oxalate crystals. So they have jagged edges, and I've not really dug too deep into the research, but I believe things like gout, sort of types, sometimes joint pain, arthritis, a lot of these things have this, kidney stones, gallstones. I think oxalates definitely have a big part to play in this. And actually the director of the lab, Great Plains Laboratory, that this organic acids test is offered by, I believe I heard him on a podcast say that one day, he's a man very much ahead of his time. He said one day people will understand that atherosclerosis, oxalate plays a much bigger role in that than cholesterol. And I actually met that guy in Spain. The lab was doing a 2-day workshop, so I actually met him and a couple of his top kind of instructors there at the Great Plains Lab. So that was a great honor. But yeah, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things out there, not just chemicals and there's toxins in food as well. We have to be anti-nutrients. So for example, grains, there is this thing called phytic acid or phytate that can, for example, bind with certain minerals like zinc. So if you take like a zinc supplement, let's say, or you eat like meat with grains or oats or whatever, there's a chance that some of that phytate is binding up that zinc, making it bio-unavailable for you. So you're not getting enough zinc. You know what I mean? So there's a ton of little things that, we got to educate people, man. But it all starts, I believe it starts with what we've already covered today.
Well, man, you came and you crushed. I've never bought so many stuff online during a podcast in my life. I just kept buying stuff. Okay, I got to get this. I got to get this. I got to get that. I ordered 2 books, 4 filters, 1 water
air filter
filter
for here, right
here. Yeah, I need to get one, yeah, for sure. Again, his book is Autism Wellbeing Plan, How to Get Your Children Healthy. Man, what a great episode. Thank you, Christian Yardanov. We appreciate you coming on. Make sure to check the links all below. His website is his name, and we'll make sure to add all that. And yeah, man, thank you for coming on, dude. Greatly appreciate you. Did great.
Thank you so much, guys.
All
it
right.
was truly an honor. I can die happy now that I've been on the tinfoil
No,
hat.
dude, you're going to be back again. It was a great conversation. I need to get you on the Union of the Unwanted as well. Because
I've been on the Union of Unwanted once, actually, back in 2019, I think.
Damn, it's been going that long.
You were on that.
Yeah, I was, dude.
time.
I did a lot of drugs. My brain is fried. You got anything for that?
Oh, dude, you just had the kids, I think. Listen, but I'll tell you, no, I'm not joking now. I said this to my wife. This is like coming on this. By the way, I was on Charlie Robinson's podcast in November, December. That was such a great honor. I love Charlie and his podcast so much.
Wonderful. I love him.
But I told my wife, this is like such an amazing thing that's happened to me. But then when I told because I always I actually played her the boner pills ad one day. She was shitting her pants. But I told her like a couple of weeks ago, baby, I'm booked on the Tinfoil Hat podcast. She's like, oh.
Well, brother, I want to say something. This is for your wife. Let me tell you something. Here we go. Guys, real quick, I want to tell you about our friends at Blue Chew. Blue Chew, that's right. American boners made for American men. That's right, dude. Hey, and Europeans who like American boner commercials, all right? So go to bluechew.com, use the promo code, anyone know? Tinfoil, and get yourself some Blue Chew. That's right. Hard-ass boners for hard-working people that are trying to save humanity. Blue Chew, friend for you. American boners for American people. Thank you, brother. That was for you. You did a great job. Bro. We appreciate you coming out. We look forward to having you back soon, and we'll do it again soon. Love you guys. If you're in Yuma, anywhere near Arizona, come see me. Toronto, Canada, we're doing April 13th, and Comedy Chaos. I'll get that day up, but that's April 11th. I already have some people booked. We loved you guys. Anything else from you guys?
I got a show in El Monte, Pix El Monte. Tickets at Eventbrite, Fully Toxic. Me, Johnny Mitchell, and Brian Briggs. Go get your tickets.
Anything, John?
Check out Broken Simulation.
It's the little show that could. Love you guys. Take care and have a great day.
Here's a clip from the latest Broken Sim. He's got a longer call, but it's super interesting, I think.
Hey, Sam. Hey, Johnny. I saw Sam this weekend at the House of Comedy in Minneapolis area, in Bloomington, actually. Sam, you crushed. It was pretty awesome.
Thank you.
I talked to you after the show, and I was pretty nervous. I guess I'm just, I usually don't get nervous, but I told you I had a story to tell you, and I called to tell the story. It's pretty weird. So back about 20 years ago, I was in college, and I was driving up to my cousin's to work for the weekend. And so the first part of my trip driving there is about 30 minutes, and it's the bottom of what would be like an L shape. And then you take a right and you go for the second part of the trip would be another 45 minutes or so. So like an hour and 15 minutes roughly. And so in the first 5 minutes of the drive, I noticed a Shelby Cobra like a late 60s Shelby Cobra, blue with a white stripe up the middle. And I noticed the guy driving it, and he was pretty like noticeable looking guy. And so I was like, wow, that's a cool car. You know, I'm thinking I was going to tell my cousin about it. He's a big car guy. And so as I'm driving, you know, it's like I said, 30-minute drive before I had to turn. And that I saw him like 5 minutes out of the town right as I started my drive. Get to about 5 minutes before I'm about to turn, and the dude frickin' passed me again in the opposite lane. And he was he was driving that Shelby Cobra. He had like the same flowery shirt. He had kind of wavy, like dark hair and big, you know, sunglasses. And I was like, holy shit, what just happened? You know, and I was so confused. And I get onto the other road now, and I'm heading north, and I'm driving. And about 10 minutes later, I come up to what just this kind of, it was a stoplight that was in the middle of this highway, divided highway, 2 lanes both directions, sitting at this stoplight. And as I'm pulling up, I'm noticing that there is a moving van facing the way that traffic would be going opposite. This is on the far opposite corner of where I'm at, and this moving van's facing like he's driving, but he's upside down in the ditch. And I'm like looking at this, going like, what is going on? And it looked like he was just waiting for the light to change. He's sitting in the car seat, like the seat, with his seatbelt on, waiting for the car to change. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what is going on here? And I'm looking around at all the other cars, and no one else is looking at this guy sitting in the ditch. And I'm kind of like freaked out now, and I don't really know what to do. And so, you know, nothing else happened really on the drive, but like, what do you think?
He was going to say, what do you think that is? And he also called back in to say that he looks like this guy, the time-traveling hipster, is what the guy in the Shelby Cobra looked like.
Really?
Yeah, the time-traveling hipster is what he said. So, interesting.
That is creepy. Like there's a glitch in the Matrix.
Yeah, I mean, if he's on a road with no ways to turn off of it, the only thing I can think even possible logically is that the guy was going so fast, passed him, turned, then came back around behind him and passed him again, you know, but unlikely. And
Glitch in the Matrix, bro.
Yeah, man.
The simulation. That's a good story.
I thought so, too. There's also a rumor this week. It's not a news item, but did you hear there's a rumor this week that they're doing, possibly, a rumor, a new Star Wars series with the young Luke Skywalker, a whole series with that. They're going to use that. This is what I've been telling you. They're going to start deep faking faces and bringing back old actors.
Now, did they end up doing that with Luke Skywalker?
Well, they did. They had Mark Hamill doing the voice, and they had another guy doing the body. And then they put Mark Hamill's young face on the body of the
and when all they could have just hired that one guy that looks like him as a kid. I mean,
yeah, he looks just like him. Yeah.
It's just unbelievable.
Sebastian Stan, yeah.
It's unbelievable. It's just stubbornness.
Here's more bullshit from space. AP reports, what time is it on the moon? Europe is pushing for a lunar time zone. This is from Cape Canaveral.
I mean, the world is burning, and you're worried about fucking
What are we doing here? With more lunar missions than ever on the horizon, the European Space Agency wants to give the moon its own time zone. This week, the agency said space organizations around the world are considering how best to keep time on the moon. The idea came up during a meeting in the Netherlands late last year, with participants agreeing on the urgent need to establish a, quote, common lunar reference for time.
Germany's about to run out of oil, and you guys are worried about, like, a time, like, is it noon? Is it lunchtime on the moon?
A joint international effort is now being launched towards achieving
Nerds are the worst, Johnny. Your people suck.
Oh, it's so dumb, dude. This will be quite a challenge, with each day lasting as long as 29.5 Earth days, someone called Bernard Hoofenbach says. But having established a working time system for the moon will allow us to go do the same for other planetary destinations. You know, all those other planets we go to.
So we're going to go to other planets that aren't even in our fucking galaxy.
Let's worry about getting to the planet before we come up with a time zone.
And so how's it going to go around the sun? Like, what is your number? It's just so dumb. The whole thing's dumb.
That dumb is the word. Grease is the word, and dumb is also the word. So here's a guy who had a relationship with a mummy. I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to give
I
you
don't even know what that means, John.
She is like my spiritual girlfriend. Peru police find pre-Hispanic mummy in ex-delivery man's bag. Brace yourselves. This story is beyond bizarre. Police in Peru have seized a mummified human believed to be between 600 and 800 years old from a former 26-year-old food delivery man.
He just wanted to turn into a blow-up doll.
Check this guy out, dude. That's how desperate this dude is. Look at this dude.
Oh
this
yeah, that guy looks like he'd love to hump anything. Like that guy would make love to the rocks behind there. If
He's got it in his like Amazon. You know those big Amazon bags that they carry around, those delivery bags. He's got it. He just carried it around in that, dude.
Where did he find it?
I have no effing idea. Let's see if this explains it.
Hey man, what do you got in there? Nothing, dude.
What a strange story. I take care of her. I maintain her. She is like my spiritual girlfriend. Police in Peru have seized a mummified human from a former delivery man who claims to have had it in his possession for 3 decades.
What?
The mummy, estimated to be between 600 and 800 years old, was found in an isothermal bag.
Him.
He took care of it.
How many women would love to have some guy taking care of you for 3 decades?
The man who named the mummy Juanita and claims it is his spiritual girlfriend has been detained by police. Naturally, this man's a little mentally disabled.
I mean, dude, we're just hearing more and more stories of dudes who just don't want to put up with chick shit.
Yeah.
So they're just marrying weird stuff.
What happens when the AI is you can put a AI brain in a flesh bot? What are they called? Flesh dolls? Real dolls? Put an AI brain in a real doll.
It's over. It's over. Stick a fork in it, ladies. You're done. You're buying your own fucking lattes.
You missed your chance, ladies, to milk us.
Yeah, the world's coming to an end. I'm glad I'm old. All right, guys, real quick before we're done, we want to tell you about all of our affiliates. It's a great way to support the show. As you know, fiat money is chaos. Okay, fractional reserve banking, dangerous. The best way to get out of it is precious metals, in particular, silver and gold. And that's why we're working at Wise Wolf, okay? Wise Wolf, silver and gold. Just go to samtripoli.com or samtripoli.gold and you could join. And he's hooking you up. They got great you can either buy single time or you can sign up for their program where you can buy up to $500 a month. I'm doing it. I hope you can too. We also have everybody at Eagle Research. That's right. Eagle Research, AquaCure Mobile, Model AC50 brown gas, hydrogen brown gas. The guy who makes it says it's secure. People are using it. Check it out. Just go there, use the promo code tinfoil hat, 3 words, and get a discount. Go back to the main page, Sam Tripoli. You will get you get a discount with the promo code tinfoil. And then our good friends over at Haley Ray crystalshop.com. Go to the promo code is Swarm15. Get 50% off all your crystals, all your quartz, all you name it. What do we got here? Look at all this stuff. All this stuff. All the best. You can do it right there. It's all part of the best crystal shop on the internet. Jewels, bracelets, clusters, you name it. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Candles, you name it. You got it. Swarm15. Thank you for supporting the show. We love you. And thank you so much for your support.
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Tinfoil hack, tinfoil hack, tinfoil hack.